Hello everyone and welcome to this free masterclass. Today I'm going to share with you things that will absolutely revolutionize your intimate and sex life, and as a result really improve your relationships as a whole. I'm going to focus on practical and zero bullshit ways in which you can experience epic pleasure, aliveness and confidence in and out of the bedroom as of today. If you stay to the end, there is a bonus. I'm going to give you one powerful sexual transmutation practice exercise at the end of this video that will help you embody all of these 3 steps and make it really practical, so you can actually start practicing some of the things and aligning all of them together to really experience the sexual revolution that I'm talking about. And so without further ado, let's dive into it. Right now, if we are looking at what is happening in the world sexually, I want to throw in some numbers. Note that those numbers are not some kind of 100 people questionnaire or research that's done here or there, some kind of like bullshit I digged in from the internet. This is based on years and years and years of accumulated studies and questionnaires and tests that people conducted over the years, both in the United States and outside of it. So as much as it's not representing the entire population, it is enough to draw some conclusions and just get a better idea of what people are actually dealing with, and in a culture that is not really talking openly about sexuality. And so erectile dysfunction, 26% of men before their 40s and 52% of men are experiencing some form of erectile dysfunction, not being able to get their cock hard before the age of 30 and after the age of 40. Premature ejaculation is something that is super common around men. About over 30% worldwide, over 30% of men cannot hold their ejaculation for more than a few seconds, if not a few minutes. This is crazy. I saw somewhere that the average time that men can hold their ejaculation is 3 to 4 minutes, right? And this is like not people who consider to have premature ejaculation. This is just the normal. When it comes to the ladies, only 25% of women consistently report reaching orgasm with a partner. Only 20% never had orgasm with a partner, and 5% never experienced orgasm ever. Now you can look at this number and say, oh, it's just 5% compared to the other numbers. It looks like nothing, but think about it for a second. 5% of women ever asked never experienced an orgasm. Can you imagine? That's a staggering number of people. And beyond all of those numbers, let's just agree that we can all, no matter what are we experiencing, we can all have much more pleasure anyways, regardless of these numbers, regardless if we have some performance issues or not. The reason that we clicked on this video and signed up and are here listening to me mumbling today is because you want to experience more pleasure. You know that there is more depth and more options and more pleasure and ecstasy possible in your relationship life, in your intimate life, in your sex life. And so here's what we're going to do today. Now, before I'm going to start sharing with you my 3-step system and give you the sexual transmutation practice at the end of this video, I want to talk a little bit about myself, just so you can have a better idea of who am I, why am I even doing what I'm doing, and why should you listen to me. And so I like to call my story the Jew in the dungeon, because I came from a super ultra orthodox religious community in Israel. I grew up religious since I was 11 years old, since my dad had cancer, and my family completely changed our secular liberal way of life and sent me to super religious orthodox boys only institutes. And I spent my day there between the ages of 11 to around when I reached, when I was about 17, 18. And I decided to leave and I joined the army. So it's another 3 years as a combat soldier in a place that is also pretty closed and boys only, for the most part. And so needless to say, all of those years between my 10 to about 22, I was in a boys only environment. I didn't really have the option to really explore my sexuality, to really explore my puberty and me growing up in a way that is open. There was no discussion about sex. Everything was hidden and shameful and guiltful and sinful. And needless to say, and I remember when I was like 14, 15, puberty is starting to kind of happen. And I was a very curious kid naturally. And I was afraid to masturbate because what God would think, he will come from the sky and beat me up and be really angry because I'm masturbating. Oh, no. And I was afraid of masturbating. And so fantasizing about girls naturally more and more and having wet dreams. And I would wake up wetting my bed with cum because this is just what happens. It just goes out naturally if you're not letting it out. And so, and I would feel so guilty, even though I didn't do anything. It's naturally, it just goes up, it goes out. What can I do? And so I would run away in the morning to a place called mikveh, which is this like a traditional place, like a small bathhouse that Jewish people purify themselves religiously to God. So if you sinned or something, instead of going to the Father and says, "Forgive me, Father, for I've sinned," for Jewish is going to the mikveh and purifying themselves, whatever. And so I used to run over there and hope and pray and hope that God will forgive me and I can purify myself from the horrible sin of spilling some of my cum. And so you can imagine what kind of state of mind I was in when I started going out there and started to actually meet women and being so curious about what it is and how to do it. And I wanted to express myself sexually, but my body, my mind was full of so much fear and shame and guilt. And it took me the last 10 years. It's an incredible journey of exploration. I started traveling the world when I was 22 and had a really crazy time full of music festivals, psychedelic experiences, really diving deep into my conscious mind and going into different spiritual practices and really working on myself and developing myself and trying many different businesses. And my overall drive was pure childlike curiosity. I wanted to experience everything that life has to offer. And a big part of my life while I was doing all these other things was sexuality, because I realized at a very early stage that I just felt that how I experience, how I show up, how I feel around my sexuality, around my body, with women in relationships, is how everything else is happening in my life, is how I feel about everything else, is how confident I show up, is how I express myself in this world, is how my business is doing, how much opportunity is coming to my life, because everything is how you feel. And our relationship with our body, the more shame and guilt is stacking up there from our childhood, from our past, the less confident, the less open and honest and curious and exploring we will be in every other area of life. And at the end of the day, I truly believe that a successful life is about being playful. You know, there is no one metric in which you reach that point, now you're successful. You got that amount of money, you got that kind of relationship, house, kids, whatever. Now you're successful. There is no such thing. Life is an infinite game. The idea is just to keep playing and keep learning and keep becoming. And that's the whole, if there is meaning for life, I would say that's the meaning for life, and just becoming better and improving. And so I realized that being successful is about being playful. And so realizing how much influence, how I experience myself sexually with other people and with women, how much influence it has about everything else, that became my main area of expertise. And also I had some pretty life-shattering experiences, beautiful, amazing lovers that I had such a pleasure and such an honor and luck to meet, that really pushed me and criticized me and showed me where I fuck up and made me better. And so in the past 10 years, I have spent 80% of my time really learning from a number of teachers, masters, gurus, going and facilitating to an array of all kinds of sex positive events, workshops, retreats. And I dove deep into the worlds of Tantra, BDSM, kink, power play, the art of Japanese bondage, and all with the intention of really figuring out that thing called human sexuality. I was super passionate and super curious about it. And only lately, when I hit 30, and that's a story of itself, why I even started doing it and how it all came to be. But now I'm sharing my insights, few things that I learned along the way that I believe can really help people improve their sex life in a culture that is just not talking enough about sex openly. And it's just, it's a shame to me. So here I am sharing my things. If you want to hear more about my story, I'm sharing a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel, on Instagram, on Facebook. So check them out. I leave links on the webpage of this video that you're watching this video on. And yeah, I'm looking forward to connect with you there. Without further ado, let's get into the 3-step systems to revolutionize your sex life and intimacy. The first one is expression and self-love, something that is currently blocking you from experiencing the sheer, incredible, infinite amounts of love, intimacy, epic sexual connections, and ecstasy in and out of the bedroom is your relationship with your own body. How much you are willing and comfortable expressing yourself out there, connecting with other people, expressing your desires to your partners, and how much you love yourself. That has everything to do with how much epicness you experience in your intimacy. The second thing is clarity and communication. We live in a culture, and I'm going to get deeper into each of them in later slides, but I'm just going to give you an overview of them. Clarity and communication. That's something that is definitely standing between you and everything you want to experience in life. Not just in the bedroom, not just sexually, not just intimately, but generally in life. Being able to internalize what it is that you feel, take responsibility for your own feelings and clearly communicate them to other people, set up boundaries properly, negotiate desire, and speak honestly, speak your truth. Fuck what everybody thinks. Fuck what society thinks. Speak your truth, be your truth. That's what's standing between you and having an epic sexual and epic sex life and ecstatic intimacy and amazing high quality relationships. That's just what it is. And the last one, but not least, and I particularly put it the last one because I feel that even if your sexual performance, so to say, are not the best of your game, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is how your relationship with yourself, with your body, how open, how playful you are, as well as your clarity in communication, communicating to other people what it is you desire, what it is that you want. But at the same time, I feel that most of us got our sexual education from the wrong places. We just don't have too much information out there. We either go to porn, which is obviously not a really good place to take your information from when it comes to sex, because simply it's not real. It's a stage, it's a play, it's actors, and nothing there is actually real and resembles how sex actually look like in real life between two real people. And so there is a lack of an understanding and knowledge. Women don't have the full understanding and idea of what is going on in their body. What do they actually like? How do they like to be touched? Where are all their pleasure points? And how do they like each of them to be aroused specifically? Because everybody are different and have specific things. And if you don't have that relationship with yourself, how can you communicate it with other people? As well as men have no idea how to escalate properly, how to open up, how to make a woman feel truly safe and open, how to let go of that idea that you have to reach a point of orgasm and that sex is just about penetration and you need to get there as quickly as possible, and really give space to take time, to explore, to play, to figure out your partner's fantasies and ideas and what these like specific things that she likes or he likes. And so there is so much there to encompass, and there's so much there to learn that will definitely take your sex life to the next level. So without further ado, let's dive deeper into each of these aspects, each of these steps, explore some of the old paradigms and how people used to look at those aspects, as well as how can you, as of today, practically go out there to the world and look at them in a completely different perspective. So expression and self-love. Let's talk a little bit about some of the causes of the shame and the guilt that we all feel around sexuality. And I believe there are 3 main sources of all the shame, guilt, and this like sinful attitude that we all have towards sex, and why at the end of the day we don't speak openly about sex in our culture, at least not as much as I wanted to be. And these 3 reasons are history, culture, and childhood. Let's start with our childhood. We all grew up and much before puberty start having some sort of sexual experiences. You know, we started to feel maybe tingling sensations around our areas, just maybe general curiosity of like, what is happening between my legs? Why do boys have something different? Why do the girls have something different? Let's compare our dicks to each other. You know, these kind of things that kids sometimes do. Sleep at each other's house in pajamas parties and sleep next to each other naked with curiosity, kind of giggling to each other. These kind of things can happen much before puberty. And the thing is that most parents from the older generation, when they see something like that happen, they immediately disincentivize that kind of behavior. So either some kids, even very, very early stage, start to scratch their genitals around different objects around the house because they feel that it just gives them interesting sensation. Parents just smack their hand or move them away and tell them, no, don't do that. This is not, don't do that, don't look there, don't touch there. And as kids, our minds are so plastic, and it creates these paradigms and these structures of like, oh, there is something wrong about my body. There is something wrong about sex, about sexuality. And that goes with us either consciously or subconsciously throughout our life, and really blocking us from expressing ourselves fully. And yeah, make us feel a lot of shame and guilt. Another one is history, and especially monotheistic religions. You can see how when the idea of one God, that you need to purify yourself in order to get to, so there is this earth is just the whole way taking you to heaven, to another place which is different and better and closer to God. And in order to get there, you need to distance yourself from these worldly pleasures like sex and food and having a lot of money or whatever, in order to get closer to God. That idea is really consistent over like Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, and a bunch of other monotheistic religions that are maybe less popular. And that idea is that there is something wrong with sexuality. There is something sinful in expressing sexuality, in lust, in desire. And even if you are not religious and you don't believe those things consciously, if you grew up in a house that was slightly religious or very religious, or generally speaking, we are very much influenced evolutionary as a culture from the overall cultural zeitgeist, from what's going on. So this history of religion is really influential on how we experience and explore sexuality, and is a cause of a lot of the shame and the guilt that we all have. Another one is culture. And here I'm referring to more of the cultural zeitgeist that is currently happening, and the discussion that we are having between genders, the discussion that we are having around sexuality, men, women, gender, the Me Too movement, feminism, all that stuff, which is, a lot of it is incredibly transformative and great and really important to have in order to create equality of opportunity for everybody, in order to make everybody feel safe and make sure that no one is being hurt violently, that no one is being taken advantage of on either side. But some of the nature of those conversations is pretty aggressive and is not necessarily promoting love and empathy and closeness, and rather separation and resentment. And so that is also some of the cause of the shame and the guilt that we feel in our culture, that we feel around sexuality, around connecting with other people. And I see it a lot in my work, both with men and women. Some of the byproducts of all of this shame and guilt that we all storing inside our minds and bodies around sexuality and expressing ourselves, both from history, culturally, and from our childhood, is miscommunication between the sexes, miscommunication between us to ourselves, how we communicate our desire, what we actually want, our needs, our emotional needs, how we communicate them to ourselves and to other people, how we communicate between the sexes, all this miscommunication and distrust that is happening caused resentment. A lot of people that I speak with, out of pain, really comes with a lot of good intentions, but experience a letdown after a letdown, and a toxic relationship after a toxic relationship, or toxic sexual interaction after a toxic sexual interaction on both sides of the, on all sides. I know both, there are more than both probably, but like on all sides of the equation. And that's a direct result of the fact that we are just have so much shame and guilt around sexuality in the culture. So we don't speak about things. We don't open up. We are not used to expressing ourselves in that way with other people. And we just shut down. And there is a lot of also disconnect from our body. Remember the numbers that I showed you before. Those numbers of performance issues and performance anxieties, both on men and women's side, are direct correlation, are direct result of the disconnect that we feel around our body. If I'm not open, if I'm not confident in my own skin, if I don't feel good about my body, if I feel that it's ugly or something is not good or shameful around it, obviously I'm not going to perform really well when it comes to pleasure, when it comes to relationships, right? And so, yes, as I mentioned, some of these performance issues and other things like slut shaming, for example, in our culture, if you look around, this is like a ridiculous phenomena in which men are being praised for having a lot of sexual partners, but women have this like ridiculous expectation of as a culture to be more a good girl, to be more preserved, and to sleep with less men, which is obviously bullshit. You know, how many people you sleep with is your own fucking choice. And so all of these things are completely and utterly a result of the shame and the guilt that we all individually and as a culture hold in our bodies and in our minds around sexuality. And so the way to move from there is breaking free from these old paradigms. And the first thing, which is, you know, it sounds conceptual what I'm talking about, but it's actually very practical. Because you listening to me right now, you are now more aware to differentiate between, oh, this is a cultural paradigm, this is an old paradigm, this is just a result of some negative shame and guilt and all of that cultural discussion, or maybe something that I'm experiencing from my childhood. But actually, here is a better way in which I can explore myself and I can express myself, right? And so breaking free from these old paradigms and getting more comfortable with expressing desire, with talking about sex with each other, both with new partners, with old partners, with ourselves. There is so much there to explore, which is newer, which is more conscious way of relating, more conscious way of connecting with each other, which comes from self-love, which comes from self-appreciation and a good, clear communication between each other, which brings me to my next point, clarity in communication. Clarity in communication can happen only when we are better understanding ourselves and we have the awareness to be like, oh, here is the old paradigm, here is something that is not serving me anymore, here is something that is good for me, right? Here is something that is actually making my life better. And the more you connect better with your body, the more you love yourself more, the more you're able to clearly communicate with other people what it is that you desire, what it is that you actually need. And so the first and foremost, the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to clarity and communication, let's come from empathy, right? We all walk around with certain level of anger and resentment and miscommunication and some level of frustration when it comes to connecting with other people, when it comes to the other sex. Because why? Because we have miscommunication, because we have separation. Let's come from empathy. Let's try to understand the other person's shoes. Let's try to figure out what are the pains that the other side is going through in order for us to connect better to each other. So men can get into women's shoes and realize that unfortunately and sadly in our culture, most women are experiencing some kind of sexual weirdness or an uncomfortable experience, if not really traumatic experience in their sexual past, coming for empathy to that place. Realizing that what you want is to make her feel fully open and safe, and let her know that she's safe. Let her know that she can trust you. And also women can open up so much more, to my opinion, and realize that men are experiencing so much pain. Really, I want to cry when I'm saying it. Men are experiencing so much pain that I get to experience every day when I have coaching calls with my clients. And there is a lot of loneliness there and miscommunication and stress and anxiety and performance issues. There is so much things that are lying on the shoulders of men, and a lot of pressure from the culture to not express themselves because maybe they will be portrayed as sexual deviants, or maybe they will be portrayed as someone who is trying to impose themselves on other people sexually. And it's a scary time to be a man and to express yourself openly. I'm saying it from perspective of man, and come with open mind to that, right? And so coming from a place of empathy will start to heal us, will start to connect us better to each other and help us experience more epic pleasure. The other thing that I want to take is responsibility, taking full responsibility for your own actions, for your own feelings, for your own internal world. That's huge. In our culture, usually, usually this is how a conversation goes between people. I'm really angry because you did so and so to me. No, but what I meant is something completely different. You are the one who is like da 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 da. We are blaming each other rather than taking responsibility. When something happens, when something is coming up, when something is triggering me, when something is hurting me, rather than giving in to that inherent force to go and blame the person in front of me for what I'm feeling, let's take responsibility for how we feel. What I'm feeling is my responsibility, especially blaming a whole other sex and generalizing for a whole population and blaming them for what you feel. That's entirely wrong. But even one person, even individually, when you are in a relationship, taking responsibility and internalizing when you feel something comes up, where does it meet me? Why is it so triggering to me? And then being able to more clearly express ourselves to the other person, not coming from a place of blame, you did this to me, not coming from a place of the emotion, I feel anger, I feel resentment, but coming from a place of need. I need your closeness. I need more of your time. I need more of your love. I need more sex. I need more, coming from a place of clarity, from an emotional need. Another one is vulnerability. And here I'm talking both to men and women, especially to men. We grew up in a culture that praises men has to be strong, men has to be powerful, don't cry, don't show too much emotions, don't show weakness, especially not to women because they walk all over you. Fuck that bullshit. Regardless of men, women, gender, whatever, a person, a human being, the way we relate to each other is through vulnerability. When you are sharing exactly and really what you feel, you are giving the person on the other side the opportunity to really connect with you, you know? So oftentimes, I give you two examples. One that all of us can relate to and can be practically changed for you right now, you know, if you're looking for something practical to work with here. So one is usually when people ask you like, so how are you? What we usually answer is some kind of like low level answer, which is very surface. And it's like, hey, I'm good, or can be better, or yeah, whatever, you know. Instead, try to actually think about it. Try to become more aware of what is actually happening in your own internal world. In order to take responsibility, you need to figure out, you need to be more aware of what is happening within you. You use your senses to feel into the moment. That's spirituality. That's what awareness and spirituality is all about. It's just using your senses to be more here, more in the moment. And you realize and you become more aware of what it is that you're actually feeling. So if you feel a little bit stressed right now, going and talking with that person that you are attracted to, or you feel stress getting into a conflict with your partner, be vulnerable. Express what it is that you're actually experiencing in the moment. I feel a little stressed right now. You're really gorgeous and I want to talk with you and I feel a bit stressed. Right? It's diffusing the tension, diffusing the tension that there is in the conversation, and helps the other people relate to you because, oh, you feel a little anxious. I know how it feels to be anxious. You feel a little sad. I know how it is to feel sad. And it will create not just intimately, but all the relationships in your life based on a much deeper level, a much deeper, closer level, and it will help you create such higher quality relationships in your life. So I gave you two examples. One is now when people are asking you, hey, how are you? Try to really think and answer something that is more actually, what is alive in me? What is alive in me? Oh, actually, I'm feeling really good today. I'm well rested. I'm a bit anxious about a conversation that I have tomorrow, but overall I feel great. Or I woke up with an innate sadness today, and overall things are great for me in life. Things are great, but I feel sad today. You know, even that little action in your life, that small change in your life will dramatically increase the level and the depth of conversation that you're able to have with people, and also get you closer and closer and closer to your intimate partners, to your friends, to people around you, even business, you know. I used to think that in the business world, I need to be this like ferocious, hardcore businessman, you know, relentless, not show emotions, be like strict. But I realized that I see so much more success and so much more doors open for me when I'm real, when I'm vulnerable, when I'm authentic. And so try these things. And also the next time that you have a connection with someone and you're a bit anxious, maybe you meet a new person for the first time and there is kind of like this game going on between you, try to verbalize what you feel. Try to talk about like, hey, I feel a little bit nervous next to you right now. I'm really attracted to you. And, you know, that will make all interactions so much more relaxed and so much more open to explore. And it's just going to make your sex life so much better. And last one is sexual education. And here I want to talk about a few main things that you can actually start applying in your life to absolutely revolutionize the level of intensity and the level of epicness and of pleasure that you can experience in your life. The first one is, sex is not just penetration. In our culture, there is this tendency to look at sex as something that revolves around penetration. And sex is so much more than dicks goes into vaginas. Sex is everything. Look at it more as a scale, and look at the scale and see that there is everything there. There is erotic touch, there is seduction, there is foreplay, there is game, there is psychological game, there is physical games, there is toys that we can play with. There is different erogenous parts of the body that can increase our pleasure. There is so many things before you even arrive to penetration that are definitely sexual and part of the sex game. And I want you to open up to explore more. Next time you're going to have sex with your partner, either you're in a long-term relationship and sex became this kind of like a task thing that you just go and get over with. You're still actually very much attracted to each other, but you're usually the way it works, there is like a certain way that you do things and you connect with each other and you go straight to the bedroom, you go straight to having sex with each other and like kiss a little bit, touch each other, get aroused, get wet, boom, let's have sex. Try to prolong that area between starting to have sex to actually penetration, and start to explore the depth that is possible there. Try to start playing with each other long before you're actually about to have sex with each other. For example, if you know that you're going to have sex in later point in this evening, start playing with each other psychologically, maybe in text, maybe voice message, maybe videos, much before that, even from the morning, like, that you are waking up in the morning, you're brushing your teeth together and you're both going out to work and you know that you're going to meet later and actually connect with each other and have sex. You can grab each other and be like, I want you so much. I can't wait to actually, or start sending messages if you like things like role play. So you can start playing the roles much, much, much before you're going to meet each other. And this is how you create a sexually charged space and you create actual polarity and attraction in the bedroom and out of the bedroom and much before that. And that's what I mean when I'm saying sex is not penetration. Try to explore everything that is possible. Be more playful about it. Which leads me to the next point. Forget about orgasms. I think this is something that I see both, especially with men, but oftentimes with women as well. We are all very too much oriented towards orgasms. We look at sex and masturbation as practices that meant to bring us, men and women alike, into the holy land of climax, into the holy land of orgasms. I want to revolutionize that area for you today and tell you to try the next time you're going to have sex to forget about orgasms completely. The things that will start to happen are incredible because same as with life, sex is also not about reaching a certain goal. It's about the journey. It's about what's happened when you get there. And everybody are different. And you and your partner are such a unique combination that cannot repeat itself, not in the past, not in the future. It's just what you are bringing to each other together. Think about it for a second. What you can explore and help each other explore there is incredible. Focus on that. Focus on figuring out, hey, where are your pleasure spots? What happened when I touch you like that? Oh, you like it? Oh, you don't like it? Let's try something else. Oh, incredible. What do you think about this kind of toy? Oh, amazing. What do you think about this kind of psychological play? Try to stand here, sit here. Let's do this position. Let's do that position. Fuck, there is so much to explore when we forget a little bit about orgasms. And this is something that from a man perspective, a lot of men are not as focused on their own orgasm. That's a whole other issue. But sometimes they're super focused on their partner's orgasm. And she can feel when you're trying to really push to orgasm. I'm sure if there were a crowd of women sitting in front of me, they would all be nodding their heads and say like, yes, I know what you mean. And that's because you have too much pressure around performing. You think that women wants you to perform, wants you to be the best you've ever had or something like that. But so you try to get her to orgasm. And when she orgasms, you can feel relaxed. You can, fuck that shit. Let's forget about it. It's not about orgasms. And the moment you will forget about orgasms and start to really observe her and ask her questions and get feedback and explore her and really listen to her and be attuned to her body, incredible magical things will start to happen because you will actually be in the moment. There is no stress to perform. You're not trying to get anywhere and you're really enjoying the moment. And then she will give you the most amazing feedback and how incredible she feels with you because you are actually present there. And also women as well. I feel that oftentimes I was playing with lovers or with partners and I felt that at certain moments they are just really forgetting about the moment, forgetting about my pleasure, forgetting about what's happening in the space and really trying to get off, really trying to get to an orgasm. And I was like, hey baby, let's stop for a second. Let's breathe together. Let's try something else, like. And don't get me wrong, orgasms and climaxes are some of the best things about life, but there is beyond that. There is incredible depth that you will be able to experience and explore only when you let go of that idea that sex is penetration, that orgasm is penetration. Try to forget about your genitals for a while and just explore each other's mind and fantasy world and make each other horny and wet by just texting to each other and talking different ways to each other and playing different roles, and playing psychologically with each other. So talking about playing psychologically with each other, one thing that I realized is super crucial to get into your intimate life, and that I, for once, got exposed to only later in my life after experiencing all that idea of tantric, slow, loving, sensual lovemaking, which is amazing and incredible and super important to dive into and experiment with and try. But there was something lacking there. There was some certain of polarity that was able only when playing with power, domination, submission. There is the world of BDSM, bondage, sadomasochism, domination, submission, and all of that beautiful things to experiment and explore. All of these are based and revolve around power play, which is playing with power. And I feel that from the essence of femininity and masculinity energies, and I'm not talking here about gender, I'm talking about certain types of archetypes and energies that we all have within ourselves, but men are usually 80% of the time more aligned with their masculine energy, and women are more naturally aligned with their feminine energy. And both feminine and masculine, one is always wants to lead and want to be led, So yes, there is incredible power in this like equal, loving, tantric, lovemaking kind of, loving, sensual love, but there is also incredible depth to explore in the world of power play, in the world of kink and BDSM, and introducing domination, submission, leading and being led in the bedroom, that is going to help you as a couple to create long-lasting, incredible attraction to each other. And also, even if you're occasionally sleeping with people, that's going to help you bring a new spice and taste into your sex life, into your relating. So go ahead and research and see what it is for you and what it is that you like. And if you already experience some of the things that you know that you like, express those more. If you know that you like to be spanked or to be choked and to have your hair pulled, both if you're a man or women, doesn't matter, express that with your partners. Open up the space to explore that more, because your drive and your desire to explore those worlds doesn't come from nothing. It comes from, I believe, an innate, animalistic, biological aspects in our body, in our genome, in our psychological mind that wants to play with that animalistic raw power. And it adds so much epicness to the bedroom that I just cannot stress this enough. And this is something that exploring deeply will definitely revolutionize the way you experience relationships and sex life. And so we arrived here, we talked about the 3-step system to break free from old paradigms when it comes to communication, when it comes to our relationship with ourselves and our body and self-love, as well as talked about some sexual education, next level paradigms of looking at sex in a more conscious, more open way. So here, I want to give you a powerful exercise that will kind of tie all of these up together and will help you both get rid of some of the shame and guilt that you have around your body, give yourself more self-love so you can be able to have a better connection with yourself, feel much better about your own body, feel much better about your own pleasure, and then communicate that better to other people. Because when you know what you like, when you know what your body is like and how and when and where you like to be touched, you can communicate that much better to other people. And at the same time, if we talk about sexual education, I think it's a powerful thing to have, because this exercise will help you keep it long, stay as long as you want in the bedroom, get rid of performance issues of all kinds, will help you as men to become multi-orgasmic. Yes, that is possible. Yes, you can orgasm without ejaculating, and this is what this will exercise help you do over time. As well as women, it will help you have better relationship with your own body, connect better, love yourself, and express yourself with your man in a way that you've never experienced before. And as well as become multi-orgasmic or deal with all kinds of issues that you might, or challenges that you might have experiencing around orgasm and around sex. So this practice is absolutely incredible. So what is that practice? This is practice called sexual transmutation. It's an old tradition from the Taoist culture. They used to do it not as like a sexual act. They used to do it as a self-love practice. It's part of their tradition, which I think is just incredible, because which religion or practice or tradition that we know of today has anything like that in their tradition? So I think it's absolutely incredible. Some of the benefits is, as I mentioned, men and women can become multi-orgasmic. It's super important because it will help you to self-discover what do you actually like, how you like to be touched, so you can communicate it to other people, and that in and of itself will revolutionize your sex life as well. What is happening, especially for men, when you watch porn and you masturbate, you usually masturbate in a way that makes you optimize to orgasm, to ejaculate as quickly as possible. And the problem with that is that your body is being used to get to a certain peak of pleasure and immediately ejaculate. That's what you're getting your body used to. And this is one of the main reasons why people cannot hold their ejaculation as long as they fucking want to, is because their mind and their body got programs to ejaculate every time they reach a certain level of peak of pleasure. And so this exercise will incredibly transform how long you can last in the bedroom, because it will give you the idea, the feeling, the new programming, and the practical pressing points in order to help you stay as long as you want and not ejaculate whenever you feel like it. And the last but not least is transmutation. So sexual transmutation, look at it not from like a spiritual woo-woo kind of thing. Just look at sexual drive and sexual arousal as like this kind of peak state. You know, you are aroused, there is blood moving fast to your genitals, you feel sexual tension, there are different hormones running around your body, and you just feel more alive, you feel more awake, you feel more open, you feel, desire. That is a peak state. And in that peak state, instead of going out there and orgasming or ejaculating and letting it go, working with that peak state, moving that sexual energy around your body can dramatically increase a lot of things in your well-being in your life. So your health, your creativity, your focus, and your ability to manifest abundance and work with people on a higher level and do your purpose in the world. And so both you are men or women, that practice is incredibly beneficial for you and will tie up everything that we talked about before to revolutionize your intimate and sex life. And so without further ado, let's talk about a guidance of this practice for men, and then I'm going to do a practice for this for women. So if you're a lady watching it, you can just scroll ahead a little bit and listen to my guidance for women. So before I'm going to get into the actual practice and the way you're going to do it, I'm going to dive into two specific movements that I want you to think about and remember while you're practicing it. One, this is your cock, this is your balls, this is your shaft, this is your balls. One movement is separating your balls from the shaft with your pointing finger and your thumb. So you grab your balls and separate them with this movement. You don't have to do it super strongly, whatever feel comfortable for you, but separate it. The other movement is the area between the perineum, the area between the anus and the balls. You have all this area, caressing it, touching it, pressing it with your thumb, this kind of movement. Remember that as we go through the process, these two movements. Okay, so basically what you do is you set up the mood, you make it nice, you make it comfortable, you either sit or lie on the bed, whatever is comfortable for you, whatever you prefer. You put some nice music, whatever it is. Don't watch porn. You can either do it with a partner next to you. She can be naked, can be super sexy, so it's also nice. But regardless, even if you're alone, you can do it with yourself. Just close your eyes, think about, fantasize, do whatever you want with your mind, and then start touching yourself. Start touching yourself not from your genitals. Start touching around in erogenous areas. All joints are very sensitive places. So touch yourself, really give yourself love, which is something that as men we are not used to do. And it might feel, this whole thing actually might feel a little weird to you, especially if you're not used to it. But believe me when I'm telling you, this is will revolutionize your sex life completely. I saw it happening over and over and over again. And it's also my personal experience. So come with an open mind and just try it out. Whenever you are aroused, just do that. And so sit down, lie down, whatever is comfortable for you, and start touching yourself until you start to feel aroused. start touching your shaft and your cock and move it around and touch yourself the way you used to, the way you like it, the way you used to, whatever it is. Get yourself to a point of almost ejaculating, and then do the following things. You can either continue, if you see that you can hold yourself, you can continue and then do those things. Or if you can see that you're really close, just stop completely and then do these following things. Breathe deeply. Breathe deeply. And while you breathe, think about moving your sexual energy up your spine and around your body. So relax, relax. Move your sexual energy up your spine to your head, all the sexual tension from your genitals around your body, and move it around your body. And then you can also try to separate your balls from the shaft, as well as touch your perineum, the area between the anus and the balls. Try to push it, to caress it, whatever works for you. And do all of these things, not necessarily in that order, whatever works for you. The idea is to figure out what kind of breathing and what kind of movement is helping you specifically relax and refrain from ejaculation. So it might take a little while and a little bit of practice, but the idea is to nail down those specific touches and specific points and pressure that helps you refrain from ejaculation. And later on, you can also use it with a partner. Whenever you're about to ejaculate, you know what to do. You can breathe in this way. You can think about getting the sexual energy up and pressing yourself in different places. And you can know what to do, and you refrain from ejaculation. You can stay as long as you want. Now go back to the practice. You lie down, you touch yourself, you almost orgasm, you stop, you touch yourself, breathe, move the energy around as we talked about, and then you continue doing it again. Get to the point of 4 to 5 times to almost ejaculate, but refraining from ejaculation. Don't ejaculate at the end. After 4 or 5 times, just leave it, breathe, lie down comfortably, and feel the self-love, feel the love to yourself. You just were spending 20, 30 minutes, 1 hour, giving yourself attention, giving yourself love. This is amazing. It's beautiful. It's something super unique that we just don't do enough in our culture. And it's incredible. It will empower so many areas of your life. And so just feel the love, relax there for a moment, and then go about your day. Now, for you, the ladies, that's a little bit different for a few reasons. And before I'm going to guide you through the process, I'm going to also tell you a few reasons why this specific process is incredibly powerful for you. While as for men, when we ejaculate, we are physically depleted from that powerful sexual energy and arousal. For most women, that's not the case. Some women are, and maybe it's you, that it's like a one-time off. If you orgasm, you're similarly to men, you feel like going to sleep and you don't want to engage in more sexual activity afterwards. Maybe it's too sensitive there. But for most women, for the most part, you can orgasm and then you just feel more elevated, more alive. You can orgasm again and again and again. That's usually the case. And so your biology works a little bit differently. So you're not being depleted for the most part from that sexual energy, from sexual arousal. And this is why the emphasis here is not on not reaching orgasm, but at the same time, removing the focus from orgasming, which usually when you masturbate, you probably usually are focused on reaching an orgasm. And by removing that focus and just focusing on rediscovering your body, rediscovering your pleasure, rediscovering different areas and different types of touch that you like, will dramatically increase the levels of pleasure that you feel with your partner and with yourself. And for a few reasons. One, first of all, if you don't know how to touch yourself, how can you tell other people? That's just a given. The more you are familiar with your own body, with your own points of pleasure, with how exactly do you like to be touched in different points, the more you are able to communicate that to your partners, to other people, to men, and have much, much, much more fun. The other thing is, which is a big one for women, and for men as well, actually, but usually for most women, there is a specific type of touch that you like, that brings you to orgasm as quickly as possible. It's very different for many different women. It usually involves few different movements together, but there is a specific type of movement, direction, pressure that gets you off. Now, what it does is it creates this pattern in your brain and in your body that it got used to being pleasured in that specific way. And so that's wonderful, but at the same time, it stops you from experiencing the sheer levels of possibility and depth of your pleasure that you can actually experience when you train your body to enjoy different types of pleasure, different types of movements. And when you will do this practice and actually come from a place of, hey, I'm not trying to orgasm here. I'm here just to giving myself love, engaging in a practice of self-love, getting better connected to my own body, and exploring what I actually like, exploring how exactly I like to be touched. And so that's kind of like the main focus. Versus for men, it's more about refraining from ejaculation and moving the sexual energy around the body. For you girls, and so the guidance for women is quite similarly to men, but there is no specific way that you should touch yourself at all. Like there are no specific guidelines. It's really however you like it. Just set up the space, make it really nice, make it really comfortable. You can use lube, you can use, if you don't need lube, that's also fine. And try to experiment with different ways if you can touch yourself. So one thing that you can do, for example, is if you usually touch yourself in a certain direction, try to change direction. Try to touch yourself in all kinds of other areas that you're usually not touching yourself in. So for example, for 90%, 95% of women, they cannot experience orgasm without some kind of clitoral stimulation. So if you're used to touch your clitoris, you can touch it in different ways, or you can start touching other areas like your opening, like the area between the anus and the sex, like your lips, your inner lips, your outer lips, all your thighs, your breast, like all the areas that are usually neglected when we sit down and wants to get off and wants to get to orgasm as quickly as possible, and try to really take 30 minutes to even an hour to truly explore yourself, to just come with an open mind without trying to get to an orgasm necessarily, and just explore what it is that you like. Now, when you touch yourself and you get more and more and more aroused and you feel that there is more and more pressure being built around your sexual area, that sexual tension that wants to be released with an explosive orgasm, stop for a second, breathe deeply in a circular way, and think about how you move that sexual energy up your spine, up your body, to your chest, to your breast, up your head, and around your body. Like actively, consciously think about how you move that sexual energy around your body. Try to edge yourself. Every time you feel like you're reaching an orgasm, move that energy around your body and continue touching yourself in different ways, and continue exploring and continue giving yourself that self-love, and then go back to what you know that you like. Get almost to an orgasm, but edge yourself. Stop there. Breathe and move that energy around the body. Move that energy up your spine, to your breast, to your head. There are a few things that you can do that can help you move that energy up. For example, tapping your chest, not super strongly, but with your middle fingers, tapping your chest, pressing the middle of your forehead, as well as pulling your hair up. Those movements can help you every time you're about to climax. It can help you move the energy around your body. You can even do it while you are climaxing to help you move that orgasm from being concentrated around your sexual area to being explosive all around your body. So experiencing a full body orgasm. And that idea of trying to touch yourself in different ways, different direction, different pressing points, different areas of your body that you usually don't explore, as well as constantly edging and working with that energy to move it up your spine, to move it around your body, will not only dramatically increase the levels of pleasure that you can experience, and eventually when you climax, it will be so much more intense and so much more fun, but this whole process will help you get more connected and more loving towards your body, as well as know yourself so much better so you can communicate it with other people in a way that will magnify pleasure and openness and intimacy and incredible intense orgasms in the rest of your sexual life. Don't make a task out of it, both men and women. Don't make a task out of it. Do it whenever you feel aroused, whenever you feel that sexual tension building up around your sex, and use it in a way of transmuting that sexual energy consciously and using that peak state of a sexual energy to revolutionize your entire sex life and your entire life in general. Some people use it to manifest abundance. Some people use it creatively in their work. Try to experiment with it and see where it takes you. The more you're familiar with your own body, the more you're able to communicate it with other people openly. The more you love yourself, the more able you are to get rid of all the shame and the guilt that we are holding around our body, so we can connect with other people in a much more powerful, much more explosive and beautiful way. As well as, of course, when it comes to sexual education, there are a lot of abundance of techniques and tactics that I'm teaching in my programs, both for men and for women, how to give each other intense, beautiful, explosive multi-orgasms. But at the end of the day, everybody are different. And it all starts from exploring yourself. It all starts from figuring out what it is that you like, what it is and how it is that you like to be touched. And that's the best sexual, out of all things, that's the best sexual education that you can possibly have, is figuring out your own body, which is something that unfortunately not all of us do. Now, I hope you got a lot of value and insights and inspiration from this presentation, from this masterclass. I hope it gave you at least some of what you needed in order to magnify pleasure and optimize epicness in your sex life, in your relationships, and the way you communicate with yourself and the way you communicate yourself to others. And if you enjoyed what I'm about, my philosophy around sexuality, and have the desire to dive even deeper with me.
So if you watched everything so far and you love what I'm about and you love what I'm doing, but you're wondering, how can I dive even deeper into that journey of rediscovery of your pleasure, rediscovery of erotic intelligence and proper communication with each other when it comes to sexuality, I have a few video courses that are absolutely epic. I've been working really hard on them, and they are full of live demonstrations on my real life lovers and real life models that compile together all the sexual education, the intimacy consciousness, and the relational intelligence that you haven't been taught at school. Everything that you need to know. From top to the bottom, from side to side, everything that you can possibly imagine is there. The courses are both for men and for women. I have a few courses for men and a few courses for women. And if you want to see more details, you simply go to the link under this video. It says, let's start your journey to a life of ecstasy. And under that, you have a button that says, take me there. And you'll see all the courses and all the options. It has proper sales page. It shows you everything that is included, all the modules, all the content, what you're gonna get exactly, and all the possible questions that you might have will be answered there in the pages. So if you're feeling a deep, full body, heart, fuck yes, to taking your sex life and intimacy to the absolute next level, I'm here for you. Just go there, check it out, and yeah, I'll see you there.